Welcome in, everybody, to part 2 of the Week 12 recap. We're going over the other 6 games from the Sunday slate. Dad, we have 6 games to go over. Sorry, I was just looking at a weird message. But how are your fantasy teams doing? Have you wrapped up the playoffs in any of the leagues, or still these last 2 weeks are big?
No, I have 3 leagues. I lost 2 of them, and So, 2 of the leagues I'm trending towards making the playoffs. The third one, which was an orphan team that I took over, orphan dynasty team that I took over, still to be determined, whether I'm going to make the playoffs or not. So, but kind of in the middle of the road. Probably should have tried to suck more in that league to get a better draft pick, because it's not a. I had some terrible injuries like Rodgers and Nick Chubb and yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, it can be tough, but again, it does seem like I think in our redraft league that we're in together, I think still there's only going to be one team potentially that's going to lock up a playoff spot. And that's always a little strange. Usually you have, again, 3 teams that have locked up a playoff spot already. But we're going to jump into these games, and we're going to start. We got some news about this team, the Panthers and the Titans, a pretty bad game in general. But Dad, Panthers fired Frank Reich, their head coach, 11 games into his first season with the Panthers. Do you think this is going to change anything for Bryce Young in this offense, or
no, not really? Scratcher? Yeah, we were just talking about this offline, and just less than a year ago, all the football gods were saying, what a great hire Frank Reich was. And their coaching staff was highly experienced, like Jim Caldwell, and there was a few other well-known ex-coaches on their staff and stuff like that. And this is going to be good for development of a rookie quarterback, And then 2 years in a row, the owner gets rid of the guy, mid-season. That isn't, So what does that mean? They're going to get everybody else is going to be gone. So they're going to have to start over again. You got to give these guys, them at least 3 or 4 years or something, and it can't be instant turnaround. If you're going to fire the coach, then if you're not happy with the team, it means you're not happy with your draft pick. Get rid of the general manager too. So I don't know.
Yeah, firing a coach 11 games into their first season is more of a sign of it's a lot deeper than just the coach for the problems on the team. It's the whole organization. So I don't know. It's not a good look for sure. And especially a guy that's pretty well regarded as Frank Reich is. So at least wait. What's the benefit now? Wait until after the season, I guess, is if you're going to fire him. But in terms of fantasy, it's tough for everyone now on this team. Even Adam Thielen, you got to start thinking about. He had 3 targets and 1 catch for 2 yards. We got to start thinking about what is he? Is he no longer in the must-start territory? Since their bye week, he was wide receiver, top 12 wide receiver heading into the bye, was dominating. Since their bye week in half PPR, he's had 11.2, 5.4, 7.2, 11.4, 0.7. So no big weeks, 2 weeks you're okay with, and 3 bad weeks. So I don't know. Is he no longer an automatic start, Dad? At this point, you got to kind of
absolutely. He's on you better have him on your bench. So it's not happening.
Be thankful for what you got.
Right? Yeah, no kidding. So you got a few weeks in there. Luckily I have him on a deep dynasty team, and I took advantage of that. And of course I had to bite the bullet for a couple of weeks while he sucked, and then he went back to the bench. So
yeah. Chuba Hubbard is interesting. Both Miles Sanders and Hubbard should be rostered. Miles Sanders had 15 carries for 28 yards. It's horrendous. Chuba Hubbard wasn't that much better, 14 for 45, but he had a touchdown and he had 5 catches. And he played 65% of the snaps. So he's back on. I can maybe flex him when we have a terrible bye weeks coming up this week. You can maybe flex him knowing, all right, if I can get in a good positive game script where it was a close game, if I can get 15 carries and then potentially 5 catches, like that's going to be, that's going to be worth it. And they play the Buccaneers and the Saints the next 2 weeks. So they can keep the games close, I think, with those 2 divisional opponents, and then the Falcons after that. So 3 straight divisional opponents. I think they can keep the games at least close. But yeah, other than that, there's absolutely, this is maybe the only team where there's no must starts. I don't know if there's another team out there. Like even the Giants and the Patriots, they have Stevenson and Barkley. Like Panthers at this point have no must starts. So, yeah, tough. The Titans, they're one of those teams where how many must starts do they have? It's Derrick Henry and that's it. Henry 18 for 76 and 2 touchdowns. They're gonna hopefully lean on him. I know he has a really nice schedule. He gets the Colts, Dolphins, Texans, Seahawks, Texans to wrap up the fantasy regular season and the championship. So those are pretty good teams. He always plays well against the Texans, but the Texans are better against the run than they have been in past years. But I actually think, what do you think of Levis? Like, I think he's actually better than his numbers put up. Like, they just have no weapons on this team. He's throwing to, Nick Westbrook-Akine and Chris Moore as his wide receiver twos, I actually think he looks okay. Do you think they move forward with him next year?
Yeah, I don't see why not. You look at the numbers, you compare the numbers between Bryce Young and Will Levis, and they're pretty similar and stuff like that. So, but Bryce Young got sacked 4 times. Will Levis only got sacked one time. But no, you're right. He does look good. The problem is it going to be good enough? Is he going to get better? That type stuff. So maybe that'll happen. Maybe it won't.
Yeah. Keep riding him and see what happens. So it's going to be tough though for anyone else. Like Hopkins, 3 for 50, 5 targets. Like they don't want to throw the ball much more than 25 times. So they want to give it to Henry 20 times. So he's kind of the only must start there. I don't know, not a whole lot to really talk about in games where they're going to be winning, or at least within. It's a close game. Henry's going to have a good game. So again, they play the Colts. Should be a close game at least. Dolphins maybe get blown out, but then you get the Texans. We'll see Seahawks. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to follow. But you're starting Henry no matter what. So yeah, we'll move on to the Rams and the Cardinals. Kind of an interesting one here. We'll start with the Rams win this game in hand. Stafford had his best fantasy game of the year. He threw for 4 touchdowns. Unfortunately, none of them went to Puka or Cooper Kupp. But that is Stafford back in you can potentially stream as your quarterback when your other quarterback's on a bye situation?
Yeah, well, look what happened. And the answer is yes, but look what happened. He had a running game behind him, a consistent running game. I know the Cardinals aren't the 85 Bears on defense or anything like that, but they had 228 as a team. They had 228 yards rushing. Kyrie Williams, Royce Freeman. So that makes Stafford. This is the story of a number of quarterbacks. When you have an effective running game and you can do play action and stuff like that, it just makes things easier. And Stafford didn't get sacked, so he wasn't getting his brains beat in and stuff like that. And I'm sure they're going to play somebody better the Cardinals aren't all that, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You mentioned it with Kyron Williams, and I was maybe a little hesitant to throw him back in there, but he was awesome. The Cardinals are terrible at run defense, but he had 16 for 143. He also had 6 catches for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, he was absolutely awesome. Must start from this point on. He's still in half PPR leagues, the RB10 on the year, even though he missed 4 games and has had his bye. It's because he's had 4 games of 20 or more points. Another game was 17 points. So he's been absolutely awesome if you got him. He's kind of a potential league winner here. Just Tutu Atwell, he led the team in receiving, but he actually played like the lowest amount of snaps he's played all year, which is kind of weird. It's going to depend on if Cooper Kupp's going to continue to kind of fight through this injury, which seems like he is, but Tutu might be a waiver wire ad because we saw how good he was to start the year when Cooper Kupp was out. Tutu Atwell was a top 24 receiver. So maybe he can get back to that. I'm still starting. I don't know. Where are you at with Cooper Kupp now? Like we have 5 straight weeks of less than 6 points, Dad.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I was wondering that last night. I was looking. I know he kind of looked like he kind of struggled in the game. He made a reception and then got tackled and aggravated something. And if that dude's lower body, legs, groins, hamstrings, knees, all that stuff, ankles, if they're not correct or 100%, obviously this is what you're going to get, I guess, unfortunately, and I'm carrying him on a team, and I'm thinking like, man, what do I do here? Do I actually bench Cooper Kupp? And it's like,
I think you have to.
Well, yeah, if you got somebody who's going to produce some points, because it's tired. You're tired of waiting because it ain't happening.
Yeah, I think you have to bench him until you see something, especially if he's going to be injured, like, and fighting through it. So I'm still going to start Puka. I mean, he didn't have a good game, but he still had 8 targets. And if Cooper Kupp really isn't, who he isn't up, if he's hurt, then Puka should have good games. So, on the Cardinals side of things, Kyler did not have a great game. 250-1 is fine, but he didn't run the ball. James Conner, are we benching him too, Dad? I mean, he's 6 for 27 and then 4 catches, but for 5 yards, no touchdowns. It's good to see him get catches, which he hadn't been getting, but he's been pretty bad since returning. He hasn't had more than 7.5 points since returning from his injury.
Yeah, I don't know. At the beginning of the season, he looked okay, and then he got injured, and the team overall, I'm not saying they're giving up or anything like that. They just, they've hit their brick wall, I think, as a team. How motivated is Kyler Murray? Internally, are they just saying we're going to tank and get a good draft choice? I don't know. They must be that bad,
Yeah, I do think they're not that good, a good team, and I think they have the number 2 overall pick, so it'll be very interesting as of now what they do. But I think I'm benching James Conner at this point because I'm looking at it now. The snaps, kind of a 3-headed monster. You had James Conner with 30 snaps. Michael Carter, who they got from the Jets, made his debut, and he had 27 snaps.
Wow.
And then Amari DiMercado had 14. So it's not looking good for James Conner. Like, I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to avoid it at this point if they're going to run a 3-headed monster. I don't think Connor's playing Just double checking. Obviously, Connor gets the goal line, but the third down went to DeMarcado. 2-minute drill went to DeMarcado. So it's just kind of a mess at this point. Marquise Brown had a good game. It was in garbage time, him and Trey McBride. But my argument to that is, isn't that part of the reason why we take Marquise Brown and Trey McBride is because we know they're going to be in a lot of garbage time situations. So 6 for 88 for Marquise Brown, 7 for 60 for Trey McBride, which is probably a top 5 tight end this week. I would be surprised if it's not, because it was kind of a bad tight end week. Yeah, he was tight end 6 on the week. So yeah, I'm still starting McBride because of the potential. And then Marquise Brown, especially this coming up week where I think they might be on a bye this week actually, but I'd probably still throw him in there as like a wide receiver 3 kind of guy. So any other notes on this game, Dad?
No, I mean, did we say, Kyren Williams had a 40-plus point?
Yeah. Yeah, I mentioned. Well, I didn't mention he had that, but I mentioned he had like 200 total yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, holy crap. I was debating whether to start him, but I sat Singletary and started Kyren Williams, and the rest is history.
Yeah, no, he's been absolutely awesome, and the Rams do this, by the way, with when they have one running back they like, they use the hell out of them. Like think of Todd Gurley, Cam Akers last year. And if one running back starts doing well, they use them a lot. So, yeah, he's gonna potentially win people leagues. So hopefully you're still in the playoffs if you had him. On to the Browns and the Broncos. We'll get to the Broncos in just a second, but the Browns, did you see the hit on DTR? It was pretty bad.
Yeah, he got it underneath the chin, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, pretty bad there. I don't know. This is going to be tough for this whole offense. Like Jerome Ford, I'm still starting because he's still getting, I think, majority of the snaps. I'm just double checking now. He had 51 snaps. Yeah, to Kareem Hunt's 19. So it seems like they're using him a lot more. I'm still going to throw him out there because he can, he in this game, he gave you 79 total yards with 4 catches. So if he gets a touchdown, you're super happy. I want to shy away from everyone else in the running back room. David Njoku, I'm still starting. 6 catches, 59 yards, 9 targets. Amari Cooper, I think, got hurt. Are you benching Amari Cooper at this point, Dad, until Joe Flacco comes in? I know he had a rib injury and
until Joe Flacco.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. Well, the Cleveland offense is, we know the defense is awesome. It's carrying the team, and the offense just needs to be good enough. And sometimes when it's not good enough, your fantasy game suffers, because you're playing Amari Cooper and the different running backs and stuff like that. So
yeah, I want to
DTR. If that guy PJ Walker is starting this coming week, Amari Cooper probably is not a good choice.
Yeah, probably not. It's tough. Like this whole offense is really tough. And Njoku's kind of the only guy just because he's a tight end getting targets and catches. In the Broncos side, I mean, Russell Wilson has been running the ball. He was 11 for 34 and a touchdown. Only threw for 134 yards, but again, tough defense. And he had a touchdown. So he's been good this year for fantasy at least. And the Broncos are they going to make the playoffs, Dad? They must be right there, 8-9 seed or something.
Yeah, I would say they're trending that way. It's kind of unbelievable.
I don't know if I've ever seen a turnaround like how bad they were defensively to how good they've been. They've been one of the best teams in defense since that 70-20 blowout. It's amazing.
Yeah.
In terms of their running backs, it's still Javonte. He had 47 snaps. You can drop Julio McLaughlin at this point. Samaje Perine, I guess you can hold on to him, but it's going to be hard to bank on. Cortland Sutton didn't catch a touchdown. So Javonte, I'm still starting. Like he had 18 carries and 3 catches. Like you'll take that against Cleveland. It's going to be tough, but he still did well. Cortland Sutton didn't catch a touchdown, so he didn't have a great game. Jerry Jeudy, man, what is going on? Is he done, Dad? Like, is he never going to be fantasy relevant? Like, I'm talking about the rest of his career.
Yeah, I don't know. He's got to go somewhere else, and we got to see it happen. He's probably going to end up elsewhere. On another team. So it's just it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know. Anyways, Javonte, you're starting. Cortland Sutton, you're probably going to start next week because, again, a lot of teams on bye. So we can just move away from this game. And it's tough when you have this quarterback play for these other players. So we'll move on to the Chiefs and the Raiders. Chiefs pull it out, although Raiders made it interesting there, at least for a little bit. We'll start with the Chiefs. Mahomes is Mahomes. Pacheco, 2 touchdowns. There's always that possibility. My question for you, Dad, is Rashee Rice. Is he now getting into that? I think I'm going to start potential. He had 8 for 107 and a touchdown. Yeah, I think he had his highest snap percentage. I know Tony and Mecole Hardman were both out. I think Mecole Hardman went on the IR. Tony, I don't know. But yeah, highest snap percentage for Rashee Rice. Is he in to that? I'm starting him as like a wide receiver 3 flex because he has this potential with the Chiefs offense.
Absolutely, yes. Based upon those 2 other conditions, those injuries from those other guys, Rice is going to, he got 10 targets, so 8 receptions. So that should tell you right there. And, Mahomes they're going to continue feeding him, I bet.
Yeah, they need someone to step up if they're going to do anything in the playoffs. They'll win 12 games, even with how their team is. But if they don't have anyone besides Kelsey stepping up, they're not going to win in the playoffs. They're going to lose. So they need it for sure. Kelsey is still Kelsey. So, yeah, I mean, it's Mahomes, Pacheco, Kelsey, and then Rashee Rice now, I think, definitely needs to be in that start consideration. The Raiders side of things, Aidan O'Connell, again, he's looked pretty good. Like, threw for 250 and a touchdown. Like, he's looked fine as a 5th round rookie. So just something to keep an eye on. Josh Jacobs had 20 carries for 110 yards and a touchdown. They want to feed him the ball as much as possible. So I'm still starting him. He's at the top of, even though he's had some bad weeks, he's getting carries and catches now. Devontae Adams, 5 for 73. Jacoby Myers, 6 for 79 and a touchdown. If you have Myers, are you starting him next week, Dad? He's been pretty bad with Aidan O'Connell, but now that you saw a good game by him, are you back to throwing him in your lineup?
Yeah, I guess it wouldn't. I don't know what the downturn on Jacoby Myers was. He started off the season well. I know it was with Garoppolo, and I don't know. Did he get hurt?
No, it was just he wasn't really getting targets. So I think week 8 is when O'Connell took over, and it was 2.4, 12.5, 3.1, 6.9, and then this last game was 17.1. It was just he was getting like 5 targets. The offense was kind of limited with O'Connell, so that's kind of why. But if you can get this, if they both can get 7 to 10 targets and 6 catches, then you can probably start both of them. But I'd probably wait another week just to see if it's a little bit more, if it's a little bit more consistent, I guess. The Raiders are always easy. It's like you're starting Jacobs and Adams, and then we'll see about Garoppolo. Anything else on this game? Probably kind of a quick game.
Nah, not really.
Yeah, I mean, these are teams that don't fool around with who they start, basically. So it's nice to see. 2 more games for you. We have maybe the game of the year in the Bills and the Eagles. Dad, are the Bills going to make the playoffs? I think they're the 10th seed. Are they going to make the playoffs? They're 6-6. They have a bye week, and then they have the Chiefs. Are they making the playoffs?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know where they're at. I don't think they're in the wild card right now.
No. I mentioned it. They're in the I think the 10th seed.
Yeah, it's looking at their schedule: Chiefs, Cowboys, Dolphins.
Yeah.
Chargers, Patriots. Those are two doormat teams, but so they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games left, and three of the games are tough opponents. So yeah, I don't know. This could be the year that they might have hit rock bottom, but
yeah, it's I don't know. They kind of have to win against the Chiefs, so they fall below 500. And you're talking about you're potentially like 2 games back from the 7th seed if you lose after the bye week this week, and then the Chiefs after that, and then you play the Cowboys. Like, I mean, for fantasy, Josh Allen is awesome. He had 340 yards passing, 4 total touchdowns, 81 yards on the ground. Like, that's just a bonanza for fantasy. James Cook had 100 total yards with 6 catches. So he's. I was telling people I think I want to start him. He was kind of ranked low by a lot of the consensus, but he had a pretty good game there. Stephon Diggs you're always going to start him. Gabe Davis, you're going to get games like this, 6 for 105 and a touchdown. I don't know. For fantasy, you're still starting all these guys, but it'll be interesting to see if they make the playoffs for sure. Dad, if you are, let's say, after this week, you're a game back of making the playoffs in fantasy. You obviously have 2 weeks left, so you kind of need to win your last 2 weeks. And you have Josh Allen as your quarterback, and you have another quarterback who's like, okay, would you trade Josh Allen for someone? Because he's on a bye this week, would you trade Josh Allen away to get a player that you can start this week to hopefully help you win this week? Because you're in a tough spot if you're out of the playoffs right now and you don't have Josh Allen this week.
In a dynasty? Nah.
No, not dynasty.
No. I don't think I'd do that. I'd have a hard time doing that. I'd have to sit and think about that a little bit more, but
yeah, it's tough decisions. Like Stephon Diggs is another one. It's like you're 1 game out of the playoffs. You need to win both weeks. You don't have Stephon Diggs this week. Is it worth trading him to get someone who's going to put up a good game for you this week, or else you don't make the playoffs? It's always tough. I would think about it for sure. Jalen Hurts for the Eagles is awesome. Yeah, I think he had 5 total touchdowns with 65 yards on the ground, 200 yards passing. I think he was absolutely horrendous the first half. This was like all second half production. But the Eagles, they pull it out, even though they've been out gained in yards, I think, the last 3 weeks. DeAndre Swift, always starting him because you can get the boom games, but only 14 for 80 is not great. Devontae Smith is awesome. A.J. Brown, you're starting. I don't know. The Eagles are always the good teams are always easy to talk about. You're starting all of them, basically. Dad, do you think Eagles kind of they've kind of solidified the number 1 seed at this point with the Lions losing, falling 2 games back? That's the 49ers are 2. Well, 49ers Eagles play this week, so that will be interesting. But
yeah, I don't know if we can. We're close to crowning the Eagles as the number 1 seed. That's for sure. Where I don't know if I'd be a little hesitant to do that, but
after this,
Eagles fan, the Lions kind of blew their chances not winning on Thanksgiving Day. So
yeah, I think with the Eagles 49ers playing this week, obviously the 49ers can get within a game if they win. So yeah, and then they play the Cowboys, the Eagles too. So still a little too early. If they can get past the 49ers this week, though, I think they probably should lock it up. Yeah, we'll move on to the last game, the Sunday night game, Ravens and Chargers. Um, Ravens pull it out. Wasn't a big scoring game at all. Surprisingly, I guess maybe for the Ravens side. Just double checking. Lamar Jackson, 177 and a touchdown, 39 yards on the ground. So he didn't have a really big week. But you're still starting him. Keaton Mitchell looked all right. I mean, 9 for 64. Every time he touches the ball, he looks like he's running for 10 yards. Definitely a guy you want to have on your roster. In terms of the snap shares, what's interesting, it was Keaton Mitchell's backfield. His role grew. So I think we're at the point where you can potentially start the guy. Gus Edwards is going to get the goal line stuff, so that's not going to change. But Keaton Mitchell, just double checking here, he had 46% of the snaps. He had 32 snaps to Justice Hill's 19 to Gus Edwards 19. So it's going to be a little tough because he's kind of like the between the 20s guy. Justice Hill is getting the third down, 2-minute drill stuff. Gus Edwards is getting the goal line stuff. Keaton Mitchell's between the 20s. So those are always guys that you have to be careful of unless he's catching a lot of passes. He had 2 catches. So, Dad, Keaton Mitchell, would you start him this coming up week when I think the Ravens are on a bye, actually. So, never mind. Zay Flowers, it was kind of funny to see him put the Chargers to sleep because they could have drafted him and we wanted him to draft him. So, anyways, I don't know if that's even through his mind. I don't know what to talk about with the Ravens because, other than that, like Zay Flowers actually wasn't having a great game until he ran for that 37-yard touchdown. He had 5 for 25 and a touchdown. Odell Beckham, not much. A little surprising because the Chargers defense is not very good. So, what about Isaiah Likely, Dad? Are you fine with starting him 4 for 40?
Yeah, if you need a tight end, at least he's probably going to get majority of the snaps. It's like with Andrews out and stuff like that. So
yeah, and he played 75% of the snaps for him. So Chargers side of things, I actually thought Herbert wasn't terrible. His stats aren't great. It's 217 and a touchdown, 47 yards on the ground. Threw an interception on a Hail Mary at the end of the half. This team fumbled twice early on drives that killed 2 drives. So when you kill 2 drives,
look comfortable though.
No, not completely. I mean, the offensive line isn't great, but also like you look at those numbers and you're like, okay, not great. But then you realize that 2 of your drives were killed early. Like you had no potential to put up points with those drives. In terms of fantasy points, it's like, how much are you supposed to really do? They also had a play where it probably should have been a foul, late hit out of bounds, and they were kind of at the goal line, and then one of the offensive linemen retaliate, and the Chargers end up getting the 15-yard penalty, and it puts them at, instead of 3rd and 4 at like the 6-yard line or whatever it was, they're 3rd and 19. So that kills a potential touchdown is gone there. So just a lot of things where Chargers are going to Charger basically. So again, I'm still starting Herbert most weeks. Ravens are the best team against quarterbacks, and they kind of proved it again. Eckler had 70 total yards, 60 total yards for 5 catches. Probably still starting him. Keenan Allen is awesome, 14 for 106. Joan Everett caught a touchdown. I don't know. Quentin Johnston didn't play most of the second half because of an injury.
He sucks.
Anything to say about?
No, Keenan Allen, I think, is over the 100 catch mark. Like,
he's
103, 104, something like that. Or I think maybe I'm wrong.
He's at 97.
97, okay.
He's at 97. He's already had a good season. He has 97 catches, 1,100 yards, and 7 touchdowns. He's on pace for by far his best season. 150 catches, which would be insane. 150 catches is insane, and he might even start catching more with no Quentin Johnson and Palmer out. It's like, who else do you have? He's on pace for 11 touchdowns, which would be a career high for him. And I think he's on pace for over 1,700 yards. He's averaging 100 yards a game. So, yeah, over 1,700 yards. Pretty awesome if you have him. He's the wide receiver 2 on the year. Wide receiver 2. Pretty amazing. Well, actually, wait. He's the wide receiver 2. I wonder in PPR. Yeah, still the wide receiver 2, but it's pretty close between him and Tyree. Well, it's not that close. Anyways, who do you think wins the number 1 seed for the Ravens are in the number 1 spot right now? Who do you think wins the number 1 seed? Ravens?
Yeah, the
Chiefs?
Ravens are definitely, they look good, and then they kind of don't look good. But right now, I mean, there's 2 or 3 other teams that are in the hunt right behind them. The Dolphins and even the Jaguars and the Chiefs, and so
yeah, Jags are right there.
Yeah, so
Dolphins.
I don't think we, it's not as clear cut as the NFC is. So
No, I mean you got 4 teams with 3 losses. Ravens, Chiefs, Jags, Dolphins. So yeah, it's going to be fun to watch for sure. But we'll wrap it up there. We'll be back with the preview video. Fantasy regular season is coming to an end. Any games? Nothing up in the air for you tonight, right? Minnesota.
Yeah, not really. No.
Chicago. Yeah. Well, hopefully you all won your matchups, and as always, like and subscribe. And we'll catch you guys next time.